So do you love the idea of Gig Harbor, but you're kind of curious what else is out there? Whether you're looking for a little more space, a faster commute, or maybe even a lower price point, I'm going to show you a few more options that fit any lifestyle. I'm Sarah Husby, a local realtor, and if you've been considering Gig Harbor but you're wondering what's beyond the harbor, I'm going to take you around to Pierce County, Kitsap County, and Mason County. So let's get started. Well, there's clearly something special about Gig Harbor that everybody wants a part of, a piece of when they move here. The charm, going downtown, having all those boutique shops and restaurants, being right on the water, just living in the area, you have water views and access to all the water activities. It's also just a little bit of a slower pace. So you're close to Tacoma and you're close to Seattle, but you're not living in the city. This entire area has such a sense of community, and I think that's part of the draw as well. Great school district. The price point is going to be a little bit higher, but you still can, even live on the outskirts and be able to enjoy and appreciate the Gig Harbor area. Gig Harbor happens to be part of Pierce County, so there's quite a bit of variety within Pierce County, but Gig Harbor definitely has the draw. So right now we're crossing the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. We're just leaving Gig Harbor and we're heading over to Tacoma, which is the closest city right next to Gig Harbor. You have a variety of homes that you can choose from in Tacoma. You've got the more historic district and Proctor. Those have homes that were built in 1900, and some of them have been remodeled. You also have apartments and condos that have water views of the downtown area. You do have some more affordable home in some areas as well. So you have definitely a variety when it comes to Tacoma. And then just south of Tacoma is University Place, and they have changed quite a bit in just recently. There's a lot of the mid-century modern homes that have been renovated and remodeled. University Place has now Whole Foods in there, Trader Joe's. They have started to build up that area, and you're right next to Chambers Bay Golf Course, which is a very popular place to not only golf, but just to take in the view, western-facing views. So the sun sets there, everyone's there to walk their dog and take their kids down to the beach and enjoy that area. So a fun fact about Chambers Bay is that it did host the Masters, and so you can't come to the area if you're an avid golfer and not check that one out. So outside of Tacoma, going east a little bit, we have Bonnie Lake, and that area has really grown quite a bit over the last couple of years because there's a lot of new homes there, and those homes have remarkable views of Mount Rainier. Just south of there is Puyallup, and Puyallup is known for our Washington Fair, and that's more of a suburban area. You have a little bit more land in some cases, and a lot more affordable homes. So whereas Bonnie Lake has more of the newness, new growth, Puyallup has more of the old style in the downtown area. It sets in a valley, so you've got a little bit more history going on there. Speaking of historical, we also have Stillicum, and that is a very charming historical downtown area to live in. And it actually faces Fox Island and Anderson Island. You could take a ferry on over to Anderson Island, but Stillicum has a charm about it that is very similar to Gig Harbor, and sometimes a lot of people will compare the two. Now, just east of Stillicum is Lakewood, and that is going to give you more affordable housing. You also have JBLM, which is the Air Force Base just south of the Lakewood area. So we have a lot of military who PCS and choose to live in that area because it's closer to JBLM, and it has that affordable housing. Right now, we're headed to Point Ruston, which is located in the north end of Tacoma, and I'm going to show you a little bit about what this lifestyle is like along the waterfront. So right here, we're in Point Ruston, which is kind of a suburb of Tacoma. So you've got your water and Puget Sound on one side, and then you've got the city as the backdrop on this side. So just kind of to compare it between Gig Harbor and here is that you've got the more newer modern buildings versus the charming boutique shops in downtown. You do have a marina access, but not near as much. You have the ferry that takes you on over to Vashon Island, and you've got quite a few different things that you can do down here. You have splash pads, the newer restaurants, and during the summer, you have some summer concerts, just like in Gig Harbor. While both areas have the waterfront, with this one you have more of the commercial buildings with a rocky bulkhead, whereas in Gig Harbor, you have more of the beaches. A couple other notable differences is you have more paved trails here with the commercial buildings and commercial restaurants, whereas in Gig Harbor, you have more of the natural trails throughout the woods and more of the boutique restaurants that are family-owned and locally operated. You'll also notice a slight difference in demographics where you've got newer, younger families in Tacoma, whereas in Gig Harbor, you have a little bit more of an established older family. Well, we've covered quite a bit about Pierce County. Let's hop on over to Kitsap County and explain the difference between that area and Gig Harbor. So as we head over to Kitsap County, let me kind of explain to you the difference and what it feels like. It's kind of the quieter cousin to Gig Harbor. A lot of people choose to come on over here from the Seattle area, King County area, because it's a little bit slower pace of life. Some of them, however, choose to commute from Bainbridge Island on over to the city, to Seattle. It's just a 35-minute boat ride. However, a lot of people have started to work remote and find that when they move over to this side, they get a lot more property, a lot more land for a much more affordable price. The median price point in the Kitsap County area is $650,000. All the areas, they have a different feel to them, from the most luxurious being in Bainbridge Island to the more rural and charming being out in Seebeck. So now let's break down some of the little cities around Kitsap County. First being Poulsbo, that's actually where I'm from, and that is very similar to Gig Harbor because you have that really charming downtown area. That's actually called Little Norway in Poulsbo. You've got a remarkable bakery, Poulsbo Bakery, and little boutique shops, and you've got the waterfront and the marina. And the one con to Poulsbo for most of people relocating to the area is that it's a little bit further from SeaTac Airport and just a little bit too much further. So just south of Poulsbo is Silverdale, which is a solid option if you want convenience to everything. It's going to be a little bit more commercial. It's going to have a lot more new builds there. You have a new hospital, you have Costco, you have Target. You do have a waterfront, but it's nowhere near as charming as downtown Poulsbo. Just west of there is Seebeck, which I think is such a charming area. It's going to be a lot more of a slower pace of life, and your backdrop is the Hood Canal and the Olympic Mountains, and that sunset is unbeatable. And what's great about Seebeck is you are just 20 minutes away from Silverdale and the amenities that Silverdale has. However, you feel like you're deep in the forest. Now let's hop back over to the east side on Bainbridge Island, and that's going to be the highest price point that you'll find in Kitsap County, and a lot of people actually compare Bainbridge Island to Gig Harbor. I would say the biggest difference though, however, is that it's going to be a little bit more artsy there, a little bit more progressive, and you do again have that ferry that can get you right into downtown Seattle within a 35-minute ferry ride. So you have a lot of people that will that work in downtown Seattle and commute by the ferry. So the south end of Kitsap County, you have Bremerton and you also have Port Orchard. Now in Bremerton, you have the Navy shipyard and it's a lot more populated in that area. Downtown Bremerton, it has a kind of mini city feel. but it's an older city feel. You do have some abandoned buildings down there, but they've tried to breathe some more life into the downtown area and have some skyrise apartments right around where the ferry is, and just right across the Manette Bridge in Manette are old historical charming homes. Now, Bremerton is comparable to the Lakewood area that Pierce County has due to the military influence and more affordable housing. And with that, you have a lot higher volume of people, so you can get congestion and traffic as well. Port Orchard is also an alternative location where military families like to live. It's a little bit further from Bremerton. However, it's an easy commute to the Navy shipyard. Speaking of Port Orchard, you have various opportunities of having waterfront, water views, and most recently, there is a McCormick golf course community that is growing. They actually have 5 builders currently building in that area, and you have 7 miles of trails, and you have boutique stores coming in a village along with breweries, and over the course of the next 5 years, that whole area is going to be booming. Contrasting the newness of the McCormick area to the downtown Port Orchard area, you have a lot of the older homes and the charming downtown area with the waterfront and the marinas, and it's got an old town feel to it. So I'm excited to show you a little slice of heaven that I think is my favorite. One of my favorite places in Kitsap County is Manchester. So we're in downtown Manchester at the pier, and behind me is the Seattle skyline. And over the other shoulder is Blake Island. So you might be able to see the ferries coming in, the Bremerton Ferry, and you also have Bainbridge Island here. When you're in the downtown area of Manchester, it is part of Port Orchard. However, it's got its own little community feel. So some of the housing options that you have here, you do have some condos, one of the only options in this rural setting, but you also have your waterfront and your water view options. And then as you move a little bit further out from Manchester, you have more of the residential single family homes and that are more affordable. For lifestyle, you have the water activities. You have boat launches, launch your kayak, get on out on the water. You can head on over to Blake Island, one of the state parks, and you also have hiking trails nearby. Well, Pierce County and Kitsap County have wonderful options. Mason County is kind of a hidden gem. So if your thing is space, trees, and small town connection, Mason County has that for you. It's where affordability, scenery, and nostalgia comes together. It reminds me of what life was like in Kitsap County about 50 years ago. The median price in Mason County is about $450, which makes it a huge draw for retirees, people working remote, or anybody trying to stretch their budget. The kind of homes that you'll find are going to be on larger lots, older homes where you're going to be amongst the trees and the forest, and you have a lot more peace and privacy in nature. You do have waterfront homes along the Hood Canal, and again, those are older homes, but a lot of people have started to remodel and update them. Now, before I get started in explaining all the areas of Mason County, I should point out that it is really rural. So if I mention that it's a little bit more urban, it is definitely not as urban as parts of Kitsap and Pierce County. Okay, so let's get started on these specific areas. So first we'll start with Shelton, which is Mason County's main hub. And that is actually a logging town, but it's also very much an arts town. The downtown area has its historic charm, and there's this level of grit that you can feel from the people. So just north of Shelton is Belfair. That's the second main hub, and that feels like life 20 years ago in the best way. Locals will wave, businesses remember your name, and the community events brings everyone out. And that's where you're also going to find the amenities like commercialized businesses, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, Safeway, and even some fast food businesses. So nestled in between Shelton and Belfair is Allen, and that is right on the waterfront, and that whole area is growing thanks to Lakeland Village and a golf course community. The homes you find in Allen, you have a combination of condo-style living, you've got the single-family home, and then you also have the nicer homes on the golf course. Lots of activities in Allen. So you have the boat launch, the piers, the beaches, and then you also have the pickleball and the golf course community area. So Allen is truly a blend of rural community lifestyle. So west of Allen and Belfair is Union and Hoodsport, and they offer unbeatable views of the Hood Canal and the Olympics. Union has this artsy, tucked away vibe, like this retreat in the forest. One of the biggest attractions in that area is Alderbrook Resort. So if you're thinking about moving to the area, I highly recommend you going and spending a night or two at Alderbrook and checking the area out. Alderbrook does have a golf course, so for home options, that leads to some nice options tucked away in there. And you also have waterfront homes too. Speaking of waterfront homes, one of the great things about Mason County is there are also homes that are on lakes. One of the most popular lakes is Mason Lake. It absolutely comes alive in the summertime, but you do have year-round residents who live there. So another big difference with Mason County versus Pierce and Kitsap County is that you have access to South Puget Sound and also North Puget Sound. So North Puget Sound being Hood Canal, but the South Puget Sound in the Case Inlet area gives you access to all sorts of islands. You have Harstein Island, you have Heron Island, you have Squawk Island, and these are absolute hidden gems that if you want to live worlds away from the hustle and bustle, these are great options that in a sense makes you feel like you're living in the San Juans just in the south. So whether you're looking for charming little towns like Paulsbo or Gig Harbor or Steilacoom, or you want the bustling city of Tacoma, or maybe you want to slow down a little bit like in Belfair, the Southwest Puget Sound has a little something for everyone. I'd love to help your journey in finding the right place in the Southwest Puget Sound. So comment below which area speaks to you the most, and let's get started.